Do you ever, because when you first start making money on YouTube, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh my God, I made $100.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. And then you're really proud because you're like, oh my God, I can get paid for doing this thing that I love.
Yeah.
And then for the first 2 years, I was making enough to maybe buy myself a movie ticket. $10,000.
BIP.
The first year, I think I only made like $500 from it.
Yeah, sounds about right.
The second year, probably made like $5,000. Still not enough to live off, but I was like, "Whoa, it's exciting!" Right? And then it goes up and it scales up, and that's when I think you start to feel bad about how much money you're making.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like imposter syndrome about it?
Yeah,
Of course.
I think every YouTuber does.
I think most
Nearly every YouTuber,
Yeah.
get imposter syndrome.
The reason why a lot of YouTubers don't want to talk about that money is because a lot of them feel bad, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they should, right? I wish we lived in a system where no one gave a shit about money and people could just be more honest about it, and that people could, because then I think that would make a system.
That's why I'm glad this Twitch thing came out, because now people are like wearing their fucking earnings on their badge.
Yeah. Well, because I think that it makes a better atmosphere for everyone to be able to negotiate for better like pay in their job. There's in traditional jobs, there's sometimes, even though they're not allowed to ask you to do this, the bosses will be like, don't talk about how much money you're making. But you're allowed to, but people don't, because they're scared and they don't want to.
They don't want to be judged, right?
But if you're doing the exact same thing as your colleague, whether it be on Twitch or in the same job, you should be able to argue that you should be valued the same way they are.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when I meet other content creators in private, I'll ask them, like, how much did you get for this sponsorship deal?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, what did you get? Because I want to make sure you didn't get fucked over.
Yeah.
Because I know how much you should be getting.
Because like, speaking from people in the industry, nobody teaches each other.
No.
And one of the stupidest things that a lot of content creators don't talk to each other about this, even though the more content creators you talk to, the more you realize, a lot of people are getting fucked because they've never talked to any other content creator about this, right?
Taking deals that, like, for example, like I took a deal for a sponsor on a video. This is when I was getting around about an average 50,000 to 100,000 views. I took a sponsorship for $100.
What?
And the video got 500,000 views. That's not worth it, by the way. A video, let's say when you're if you have 50,000 to 100,000 average views, you should probably be getting about maybe $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah, at least 20 to 50 times more.
Yeah, $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah,
which sounds like a lot. I know. That sounds like a lot to a lot of people. But this is advertising space, right? This is eyeballs that you're getting. So you have to think of it like that. So you can naturally.
I mean, I guess that's where our knowledge comes in, right? Where it's not like that's not a set number because it all depends on the clients. It all depends on the product you're promoting. Some clients in certain spaces are willing to sell you like this spot for a higher price. Some aren't. Some want a deal. It's really comes down to experience, but. If you're a content creator, you should really be talking to other content creators. 100%. If you have no idea what to charge a client, right? If you have no idea, then I've like, because here's the thing, I've searched up like before, like YouTube, of like how much you should be charging certain clients, and like all the YouTubers I've seen who have said how much you should be charging have got the number wrong, and that's because a lot of them aren't big creators, and like the numbers really depend on where you are on YouTube, and it really comes down to experience and what other people are doing in your field, which really depends on how much you can charge, right? So I feel like talking to you guys about it before, we are now able to charge more because we've realized that we were all getting charged different prices for certain.
It's also not just about like the sub count and like view count, stuff like that. So I feel a lot of it, especially nowadays, that like companies are looking for is like branding power. Yeah, like you could have two channels could have the exact same number of subs and views, but one could be a stronger brand. And that in and of itself, right? Yeah, and it depends on like the audience and the demographics. So there's so many components that go into it. It's not just like a bare bones like, I get this many views on average, therefore I should be getting this amount of money. Like it's completely case by case, and like
which is like my general advice to anyone who is independent and not even a YouTuber but an artist, right? We've had to learn what our value is. That's the biggest thing. You have to know what your value is
and not be ashamed to say
it.
When they ask for how much it costs.
Like like when it comes to negotiations with a company or with a fellow client, you can't be ashamed to big up your value, because you are bringing something for them, right? You are bringing something to the table, and you need to articulate that.
Nothing hurts me more than seeing an artist underselling themselves.
Oh man, it hurts me so much.
It's so bad.
It hurts me so much.
Like I always make sure, like if I'm working with an artist, I'm like, you sure you want that much? Like I can give you more. I think you're worth a little bit more than that. You got to have a little bit of confidence in yourself. You know? Like,
exactly.
Like you can't be scared to like obviously you can't like ask for an egregious amount at a small price, but you know there is a limit that you can go, and it's okay to step over that limit even slightly just to get your name out there. You know, if you really believe in your work. But just oh my god, I've seen so many fucking artists just be like, yeah, I'll give you like this amount, and it's like a tenth of what I was envisioning. It's like, I don't know if you want to do that too. Yeah. Like, be a little more confident in yourself, you know?
And I think another thing that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to like the economics of YouTube and like getting paid for this as a job is the amount of time a lot of content creators will go before they get big, doing work and not getting paid and not doing this for money. I mean, I did YouTube for like 7-8 years before I saw my first paycheck, right? And especially nowadays, it's a super competitive industry and a super competitive field. So like whenever someone comes to me and asks me for advice about how to make YouTube a job, I the first thing I ask them is, do you have the time to take a year off in your life without getting paid and working working harder than a 9-to-5 job? Because that's the minimum sacrifice you will have to do nowadays unless you're like super lucky to do YouTube. And even if you do that, you might not even get popular. You know, it might not even come to fruition. So are you willing to make that sacrifice in your life for a chance to have this as a job? Which is why like I feel very lucky to have this position. But you know, I do know that there was some portion of luck within my career path, but also everyone I've met, including all three of us, worked super fucking hard as well. We went through a point where we were working harder than a 9-to-5 job without getting paid or being paid like less than minimum wage to get where we are. And we did that for about a year. And I feel like a lot of people who are maybe older, who are more established, to be like, you know, I got a 9-to-5 job. I can't really take a year out in my life. That's why a lot of YouTubers you see start off in like college or in high school when you do have that time. And all I can say to that is, I'm sorry. That's just the way it works. You can't like it's not a company. YouTube isn't like YouTube. You're not a paid salary man. You know, it's
I mean, like as an example, it's like, you know, like Mr. Beast, like Jimmy was barely got any views for like the first like 6-7 years of his career, and then all of a sudden he's at where he's at now, right? But like I think what a lot of people forget is that he didn't just come out of nowhere. He didn't just make a video and it immediately, you know, get him 50 million subs, right? It's like
it takes a long time.
He worked for that shit.
It takes a very long time. Yeah. And that's the thing that everyone wants to gloss over. And that's not me just trying to justify why people should make $50 million a year, but it's just you can't criticize it without first understanding that and appreciating that it does sometimes take a shit ton of work. You know, and the one thing that people love to forget is that life is not fair. You know, like
it's not a fair system right now.
You could, you know, you could put just as many hours, if not more hours, into playing guitar or something, and nothing could come of it.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, think of the hundreds and thousands of guitarists that never went anywhere.
Thing, right? It's like you also have to understand. Like, I think one thing that is kind of oversold in life is that if you put X of hours into something, it'll just work out. And it's not always that simple.
Not always that simple.
You know, if you're getting into something that is extremely popular worldwide, it's going to be way harder than if you're, for example, making anime videos on a website called YouTube in 2015. It's,
I mean,
it's differences in scale of what you're trying to compete. You know, I'm sure everyone in the world started doing the type of content that we were doing. I think we'd be out of a job pretty soon, because no doubt there'd be other people who are better than us. That would happen, but not everyone is doing it. That's not
I mean, I feel that's why it's called a dream job for a reason, right?
I mean, like I did take a fucking massive risk with my career choices. You know, because back then, when I had a steady paid job, I had a career path I could pursue, and I like.
Where did you work at again?
I worked at the BBC.
Oh,
did you know that?
No, I
did you know that?
Had to bring it back. Had to bring it back for the bingo players.
In the fucking timestamps, it'll be like justifying our privilege or something. Is this section of the fucking video?
No, because I did sacrifice that a proven career path for an industry that was not proven, that an industry that didn't exist back then, that that wasn't proven that I could do this more than a year or two, and I took a risk that it was going to turn out into something, and I was lucky enough that it did turn out. You know. Nowadays, it's a different ball game. You know, I took that risk with my career path. If you want to be a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer, you have to take a different risk, and it's a different risk. But the risk to rewards is like the rewards are there to be seen, and that's why people take risks to get that reward.
The one lucky thing about YouTube and Twitch is that you can do it in your downtime. You know, you can put a little bit of effort here and there, see some results, see that there's a demand for it, and then dedicate more time to it. That is one good thing about it. Like, you know, yes, you're going to be at a disadvantage if you are working, like Grant said, and you are 30 plus and you've got a life that you need to maintain. But it's not impossible. Like there are some ways,
it's not impossible,
and there are cases where it has worked out. Again, it's just harder, and the playing field isn't level, but it never is. You know, I'm sure that if you let's say you just had a friend who was a big YouTuber, you're already at a massive advantage because they can help you out. Or you have a family history of using cameras or editing, you know, like there's all kinds of variations of advantages, but that's fucking life.
I feel that can apply with any job,
like,
though, right?
Literally anything in life.